Hi, I'm Mike Massimino, and this is Inside the International Space Station.
Well, not really.
But the ride coming home, I hear, is a lot different.
You don't want to have your tongue between your teeth.
Complete blizzard.
Do you like that word?
And we're going to talk with Joe Acaba and Suni Williams about their upcoming space flight.
What would you say the difference would be, the launch experience between the shuttle?
It is closer. You're
both
right.
Inside and outside of the spaceship, let's say.
I'd say it is closer, but the rocket's smaller. And so the impression for the sound and the noise, I think it's similar from what I felt. That part of it.
The big difference is I've only seen, well, I kind of saw one. I was Dan Burbank's backup, so I was out there
In the blizzard.
In a blizzard.
Yeah.
The shuttle doesn't launch
You
in
didn't
a
really
blizzard.
see anything.
Right.
That's why you kind of saw it.
So I kind of saw it. I think it was out there. I saw this little bit of light, but that's a huge difference. Where a shuttle flight, it's a nice day. I worked as a C-squared down there. You have a little bit of wind. Okay, we're not going to fly today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of requirements. These guys, up to like 60-mile-an-hour winds. It was a complete blizzard, and they launched.
Yeah.
And
the funny part about it, they didn't know probably, aside from people telling them it was a blizzard, because in the Soyuz you have a protective cover over you, so you can't see outside. Like in the shuttle, we got, of course, windows there for everybody to see so they can fly it. But the Soyuz, you're just sitting in this encased little capsule, and people will tell you, it's freezing out here, it's blowing snow, we can't even see you. It doesn't even matter.
I had a clue that it was snowing on his walk to the spaceship.
Yeah, we had to get him there.
The walk.
He looked like a Snuggie.
He was all wrapped up.
He had that, whatever. It looked like a bunch of monks walking out.
I don't think, though, that's not to keep him warm, though. I think they're warm.
To protect the suit.
The suit.
It was. It was all the
just
suit.
for the
Yeah,
suit.
it wasn't for that.
I'm saying he knew it was snowing. He was walking through the weather. So, all right. So it's a bit. And how about on the? You haven't been on the Soyuz yet either for this launch, but what are the major differences do you think you'll experience between a shuttle launch and a Soyuz launch? Or are they similar? One thing you mentioned, I guess you don't see very well on the. You don't have the big.
You don't have the outside visual picture at all. From what we saw, we saw the vehicle. Actually, we've both been in the vehicle when it's been under its cover. Because they put the rocket together only like 3 days before launch. It's pretty incredible, actually. We see the vehicle the actual Soyuz vehicle about 2 weeks before launch, and then they put it in its protective shroud, and they stand it upright, and we get to go in it when it's like that, and sit in your seat, which is pretty squishy. The shuttle is, everybody has their chairs, and they're sort of lined up, all right next to each other. You turn around, you have a little bit of room to move around, even though it seems a little squishy. In the Soyuz, it's me and Joe. Your size would be like right in the center of us, and we'd be all close together and snugged up together. So there isn't much room in there at all to move around, and your knees are a little bit up in your chest, like this as you're sitting in the chair.
Out of that thing. You'd have a good time.
It would be hard,
Like the rollout's pretty cool.
Talk about the rollout,
The rollout of your vehicle. It's like launch day minus 2 days, and it was neat as a backup. You get a chance to go out there and see it, and it's just early in the morning. This thing's coming on a little train on the rails right there, and they roll it right up to the pad and hoist it up, and boom, it's ready to go. The shuttle's out there for months, a good 30 days in advance, and it's sitting out there. And this thing, it's if you go there 3 days before launch, where's the launch pad? You don't see it. So it's pretty cool to see that difference.
So is the railroad car is also the launch pad, so to speak?
Pretty much. It rolls it out there, and then they have this mechanism where they just hoist it up and they put it on their launch pad. And
wow. So it doesn't have all the support structure from what I've seen, like the shuttle has, right? And the shuttle had we could have the different levels and the toilet and everything else you had up there. You don't have all that support structure.
It's not quite as elaborate.
Not as elaborate as that. Yeah. It's pretty elegant, though.
It is.
The vehicle's actually meaning it's just sitting on 3 pegs. It's hanging out there, and when it launches, and there's some support structures, just pretty much for like wind and stuff like that, because they don't want the vehicle's pretty tall. We could talk about what it looks like.
Yeah, blizzards,
whatever.
Something to hold it up.
So just sort of to support it just a little bit. But when the vehicle launches, and those are on weights. And when the vehicle launches and its thrust is greater than those weights, all the support structure just falls away because the thrust is bigger than the weights, and it just launches off of the 3 pegs that hold it there. So there's no pyro bolts that hold it, no mechanism that you have to worry about is going to fail. If the main engines of the Soyuz works, it's going. So that's sort of nice to know.
Yeah. Elegant, I think, is a good way to describe it. Do
you like that word?
I like it. It's elegant a lot of times. Okay, elegant to probably the people that are watching the Kardashians right now has one meaning.
Right.
But elegant to engineers has a different meaning. That's why
simplistic
I'm glad you used it.
perfect,
it means, simplistic, perfect, very kind of clever, nice way to do things. The launch, the acceleration, and so on. Is that? Do you think that is going to be similar to what you experienced on shuttle? Or is it smoother? Or
I don't know.
How would you describe it? Can you
from
describe
video,
your experience on the shuttle and what you expected?
Well, from video from inside the Soyuz, because we also, as backups, you were in the SAR room, right? So we get to go where the search and rescue folks are, because they're all lined up ready to go in case anything happens, and they have communications to all the assets downrange. And inside there, they had TV, so you could see what's going on inside the capsule. And that's been like that since forever, because they've always wanted to know how the crew feels. This is a question that happens all the time. How's the crew feeling? The crew's feeling fine. And they're watching you on video just to make sure everybody's okay. So as you're watching them, it's really pretty smooth, because it's a liquid rocket. And so it's not a bunch of vibrations until the staging happens. And then you can really see people bounce around when the staging happens.
But the profile is, I think, pretty similar. You know, you do the centrifuge training out there like you do for a shuttle flight, and so going uphill, it seemed pretty much the same. G-force and all that. But the ride coming home, I hear, is a lot different on the Soyuz as compared to the shuttle. It's like you're coming back on a nice jetliner, and it's smooth, and everything's good. You're happy to be home, and
Soyuz is a little different.
It's if you ever hear some of the audio from a Soyuz landing from inside the capsule, it's not pretty.
So it's going to be rough on is what the big boom at the end.
But there's a couple things, I think, when the parachute comes out, and the vehicle's coming in, and then the parachute grips out from one side, and it's going to jerk the vehicle around, and then the second part of the parachute actually realigns itself, because you come down under the vehicle, only one side of the vehicle is connected to the parachute, and then it has an automatic system that realigns it so it's connected on two sides. All of that is really jerky from what folks have heard. That's what we've heard. You're in your straps a little bit like that, and then of course the soft landing.
Yes, very soft.
Very soft.
Miyake landing.
Do you get do you brace yourself? Did they tell you need to brace yourself for the landing, or is there a warning or something that?
It actually says Posadka, which is landing a couple seconds before landing. So the computer sort of knows, but it's not at landing. It has a height sensor that sends that light off, and so you know, and you don't want to have your tongue between your teeth at that point in time, for example. That would be bad. Blah. And you also want to just sort of be ready. We've got a. It's sort of funny. We have a little stick in the Soyuz, just like like an airplane sorta, and it has a transmit button. So the main purpose is so you can communicate and you can make calls and stuff like that. But the second purpose is it's like the oh God stick, and so when you're landing, you hold on to it just so you have something to do with your hands.
That's good.
Yeah, it's like as you're coming.
You don't want to grab your commander and squeeze them.
Oh no! You have that little thing.
You're flying on a Russian ship. I mean, do you notice that difference? Do you feel like we're all one big team? I'm curious. What is the feeling that you have about that?
We're speaking in Russian, so that's a big difference. You definitely know you're on a Russian vehicle, and just the way the Russians do things, it's it's fairly simplistic, but it's very reliable, and I think it's a little bit different. Shuttle is very complex, and but it's weird, having to go, and train in Russia and go out there and then launch from Kazakhstan. It's a lot different than launching from Florida, and just the whole mentality of it, and we don't have that capability to do it now, and but it's an international program, and so I think it's great that we're working together, and if we talk about doing greater things in the future, we're going to have to work together. So I think this is really a pretty neat transition, going from where you have these two separate entities that have been working in space, and now you're kind of getting together to actually get into space, and I think it's good for what we might do in the future.
And I think the Russians are pretty respectful for all the countries and the partners that are there. We do a flag raising ceremony while we're in Kazakhstan. And actually, we always raise a Kazakh flag also because we're in Kazakhstan. But we raised an American flag right before launch. Aki raised the Japanese flag, and so they're absolutely respectful for the other countries that are there and participating, and so that's pretty good. But like Joe said, yeah, we are launching on a Russian rocket in a Russian spacecraft. That's going to be our lifeboat while we're up there. So there's a lot to be learned from that. When I was thinking about doing this, one of the reasons I wanted to fly in a Soyuz is because we're probably going to go back to some types of capsule vehicle, and we've only flown in the shuttle, our generation of folks. And I thought, wow, that would be a good experience to see what a capsule vehicle is like, landing under a parachute, and take some of that stuff, that the historic stuff and the knowledge that you get from the Russian program, and hopefully carry that over to our next vehicle in the U.S. So I hope we'll build another vehicle that will be a capsule, maybe a lot different from the Soyuz, but at least we get the experience from the two different programs. I think it's important.